And welcome to Technology Tap. I'm Professor J. Rod. In this episode, securing the enterprise network. Let's get into it. Welcome back, Tech Warriors, to another episode of Technology Tap, the show where we take a deep dive into tools, technologies, and tactics shaping the cybersecurity world. I'm your host, Professor J. Rod, and today we're tackling one of the most critical and complex part of modern cybersecurity, enterprise network architecture. If you ever wondered how organizations build secure, scalable, and resistant networks, or how you could protect on-premise environments from an attack, this episode's for you. From switching and routing to firewalls, load balancers, VPNs, and remote access security, we're going all in. So grab your notebook. Let's get started. When we talk about enterprise network architecture, think of it as the blueprint of the digital city that powers an organization. Just like a real city has roads, buildings, and power lines, your enterprise network has switches, routers, and addressing schemes, all working together to transport information securely and efficiently. Let's break down the key layers. Every network starts with selection and placement, deciding where to put devices and how to connect them. We're not just throwing cables around. This is strategic. We also consider infrastructure, the media, fiber, copper, wireless appliances, and addressing system. Applications and services, how data is delivered and secure. Workflows, how information moves between departments. Access, who's allowed where and how that's enforced. Think of a company like a hospital. You have critical patient data in one wing, public Wi-Fi in another, and administrative records somewhere else. The way you segment and protect those areas, that's network architecture at work. Switching infrastructure. Switches are like traffic directors. They manage traffic within your local network. But here's the thing, topology matters. You got physical topology, how cables connect devices, and logical topologies, how data actually flows. You use structured cabling to organize the mess, and you use a hierarchical design, core distribution, and access layer to improve performance and limit broadcast storms. Why? Because when everybody shouts on the same network segment, things get noisy and slow. A well-designed switch topology limits broadcast domains and enforces segmentation. Routing infrastructure. Routing takes us to the layer 3, where we separate networks using subnets. IP4, IP6, subnet mask, all essential. VLANs lets us match logical layer 2 segments to layer 3 subnets, making our network flexible. Here's an example. Finance and HR might share the same physical switch, but VLANs let them live in separate logical neighborhoods. Security zones. Every zone has its own access control and security requirements. Public zones are your websites, your DMZs. Private zones are your file servers database. And management zone is the infrastructure servers. Segmenting into zones reduce your attack surface. Think of it as having walls between buildings. If one compromise, the whole city doesn't fall. Attack surface. Every connection point is a potential doorway for attackers. Weak architecture might lead to single points of failure, over complexity, lack of documentations, over dependence on perimeter firewalls. Modern security isn't about one big wall, it's defense in depth, layers of protection across the entire network. Port security. Switch ports are gates and you must control who enters. Physical port security disables unused ports. MAC filtering, only known devices are allowed. 802.1x with EAP and radius, authentic devices using a central directory. Real world example. A rolled employee can't just plug a laptop into a port if an 802.1x requires credentials tied to Active Directory. And I've seen where an employee kind of goes rogue and starts putting in equipment that's unauthorized, right? I worked at a place where they put in a wireless router on the network just because the company didn't want to get wireless. Like the company was a little bit on the behind in technology. They did not want wireless. Everybody else had wireless, but we didn't. And these techs put a wireless router on the infrastructure, and nobody knew about it. And they didn't even notice that everybody was bringing in their personal laptops from home. This is when Netflix went from CDs, from DVDs to streaming. So everybody got caught up in that craze. But yeah, that happens. Physical isolation. Sometimes you go to extreme air gap networks. Think nuclear facilities or classified systems. They're physically disconnected. No internet, no Wi-Fi, only updates via USB or floppy. Secure but hard to manage. Architecture consideration. Every architect must balance cost versus performance, scalability versus complexity, availability versus budget, patchability and vendor support, and risk transference. Outsourcing to third parties, usually an insurance company. When they talk about risk transference, they're talking about insurance. It's like building a house. Cheap materials might save money now, but cost more later when the roof leaks. Network security appliances. Once your network is designed, you must protect it. Here's where security appliance comes in. Firewalls, proxies, IDS, IPS, WAFs, and load balancers. Device placement. Where you place a device determines its roles. Zone borders, firewalls, ACLs, that's preventive. Within zones, IDS, sensors, that's detective. Endpoint, antivirus, EDR, that's corrective. This is defense in depth, not just one line of defense, but layers across the stack. Device attributes, active versus passive. Active controls require configuration, for example, firewalls. Passive controls monitor silently, example, network taps. Inline versus tap monitor. Inline is a bump in the wire, can allow block traffic. Tap is observe only, no interference. Fail open versus fail close. Fail open, availability first, traffic still flows. Fail close, security first, traffic is stopped. In a hospital, you might prefer a fail open. You can't block life critical systems, but in finance firms, fail close might be safer. Firewalls. Firewalls enforce access control lists. They inspect IP address, ports, protocols, TCP, UDP types. They can drop, deny, or accept packets. Modern networks use multiple firewalls, edge routers, internal segmentation firewalls, and cloud gateways. Layer 4 and 7 firewalls. Layer 4, transport, checks TCP, UDP sessions, connection state, handshake, make sure the three-way handshake goes through. Layer 7, the application understands HTTP, DNS, SMTP, can block attacks like SQL injection or XSS. Deep packet inspection lets Layer 7 firewall look inside traffic, not just at headers. Proxy servers. Forward proxy, clients, proxy, internet. Reverse proxies, internet, proxy, internal servers. They cache, filter, and authenticate users. Think of a reverse proxy as a bodyguard standing in front of your web server. IDS and IPS. IDS, intrusion detection system, is passive alert, and IPS is intrusion prevention systems actively block it. It's in the name, guys. Look, intrusion detection, it just detects. Where intrusion prevention does something, right? The detection will let you know, email, some kind of alarm, right? So you get notified if something's wrong. And IPS does something. So, for example, you have a student that you're in the conference room and you have a laptop. Only that laptop is allowed to be plugged into that port in that conference room. And somebody comes in and disconnects it. A student comes in and disconnects it and puts in his laptop. Well, an IDS will give you an email and say, hey, somebody, an unauthorized, computer just plugged into the port in the conference room. Where an IPS will cut the connection. That's the difference. Placed in line or on a mirror port, these systems monitor patterns and integrate with SEMI tools. Example, Security Onion or Snort, analyzing packets in real time. Next generation firewalls and UTM. Next generation firewalls do application-aware filtering, user-based rules, and cloud inspection in IPS. UTM, Unified Threat Management, combines multiple functions, firewalls, anti-malware, spam filtering, DLP, VPN, all in one box. Great for small and medium enterprise, but remember, a jack of all trades may be slower than the specialized gear. Load balancers distribute traffic across multiple servers for redundancy, performance, and availability. Types, layer 4, based on IP/port, and layer 7, content aware. They use algorithms like Robin, least connection, or weighted response. If one server fails, heartbeat check shifts traffic automatically to the other. Web application firewalls. WAF inspect HTTP traffic and match against unknown vulnerabilities. They block things like SQL injection, cross-site scripting, path traversal. You can deploy them as hardware, software, or cloud services. Segment 3, virtual private network and remote access. Remote work is a new norm, and secure remote access is now non-negotiable. Remote access architecture. You can design client-to-site VPNs. User connects from anywhere. Site-to-site VPNs link office securely. And TLS tunnel, IPsec tunnels, and SSL VPNs. Each must authenticate users and encrypt data in transit. TLS tunneling. TLS tunneling uses PKI certificates for authentication and radius for user credentials. They can run over TCP or UDP, encapsulating internal traffic with a secure tube through the internet. Think of it like a secure subway line, carrying your packets across the public network. IPsec tunneling. IPsec offers confidentiality, integrity, and authentication. The authenticated header is for integrity only, and the ESP, encapsulation security payload, is encryption and integrity. Modes, you can do transport mode, host to host, or tunnel mode, gateway to gateway. Use heavily in enterprise site-to-site VPN. Internet key exchange. IKE establishes security associates between peers. Phase 1, authentication, search or pre-shared keys. Phase 2, encryption method, either AES, 3DES, etc. IKE version 2 supports mobile clients and faster connection. Remote desktop. RDP allows GUI-based remote access to physical or virtual machines. With RDP Gateway, you can connect securely to internal apps through a browser, great for hybrid workforces. SSH. SSH secures command line access for admins. Uses public-private key pairs, commands like SSH, SCP, supports Kerberos for enterprise authentication. Out-of-band management and jump server. Admins need a secure path even if the main network fails. Out-of-band management uses console ports or VLANs. Jump servers act as control gateway to sensitive system. In military-grade networks, you often see secure admin workstations that can only connect to jump boxes, never directly to the internet. All right, let's recap what we learned today. 1, enterprise network architecture, segmentation, scalability, and resistance matter, security appliances. Place your controls strategically. Layer your defenses. 3, VPN ensures confidentiality and authentication for remote users. And 4, management path. Keep admin access separate and secure. Remember, a secure network is one that's planned, layered, and documented. All right, now that we got that done, let's do the 4 questions. All right, I'm going to give you 4 questions, and they're all going to be multiple choice. They're CompTIA-like questions, right? CompTIA practice questions. I'm going to give you 4. I'm going to read them twice, and I'm going to give you 5 seconds to answer them. And let's see if you come up with the right answer. All right, question number 1. Which of the following best describes the function of a layer 7 firewall? A, filters traffic based on MAC address. B, blocks packets based on IP and port. C, analyze application layer data for threats. And D, routes packets using dynamic routing protocols. I'll read it again. Which of the following best describes the function of a layer 7 firewall? A, filters traffic based on MAC address. B, blocks packets based on IP and port. C, analyzes application layer data for threats. And D, routes packets using dynamic routing protocols. Now, for me, this is an easy one, right? Because as a lot of CompTIA questions are, there's actually a big clue in the question, right? If you listen to the question, there's a huge clue that will give you what the answer is. I'll give you 5 seconds to think about it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so what is the big clue? The big clue in the question is layer 7 firewall, right? Now, you got to know what layer 7 is in the OSI model. If you know what layer 7 is in the OSI model, and we went over it in the slide, you know what the answer is. And in this case, the answer is C. Analyze application layer data for threats, right? A layer 7 firewall inspects application data, enabling deep packet inspection and protection against attacks like SQL injections. Sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, the answer is in the question. CompTIA likes to do that, especially with A+ and Network Plus, and you have to learn how to dissect it. I call it dissect the questions. You know, it's just it's critical thinking, right? That's really what it is. And if you have this skill, you could almost take any CompTIA exam and not necessarily pass it, but you could get you could get a good mark. Maybe you could pass it. You could definitely get a good mark. I'm not saying, because if you don't know what the definitions are, you're not going to pass, right? If you don't know what layer 7 is, you're not going to pass. So, there's some knowledge that you need, right? But if you have the knowledge and you practice critical thinking skills, you could pass this CompTIA exam. All right, question number 2. What is the main difference between AH, authentication header, and ESP in IPsec? A, AH encrypts data, ESP authenticates headers. B, AH provides integrity, ESP provides encryption. C, both AH and ESP provides encryption. Or D, AH uses SSL, ESP uses TLS. Again, I'll read you the question. What is the main difference between AH and ESP in IPsec? A, AH encrypts data, ESP authenticates headers. B, AH provides integrity, ESP provides encryption. C, both AH and ESP provide encryption. Or D, AH uses SSL, ESP uses TLS. Now I'll give you 5 seconds to think about it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And your answer is B, right? And we went over it earlier, right? AH provides integrity, ESP provides encryption. AH ensures integrity only, while ESP provides both encryption and integrity. So it does both. But it's only asking you it only provided one, which is good enough. All right, question number 3. Which device placement strategy best supports defense in depth? A, place all controls on the perimeter. B, use one firewall and disable IDS. C, layer preventive, detective, and corrective controls across zones. Or D, rely on a single UTM at the gateway. I'll read it again. Which device placement strategy best supports defense in depth? A, place all controls at the perimeter. B, use one firewall and disable IDS. C, layer preventive, detective, and corrective controls across zones, or D, rely on a single UTM at the gateway. So it's asking which one of these, out of all the ones that I just read, is best supports defense in depth. And that's the big clue there is defense in depth. I'll give you 5 seconds to think about it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right. Hopefully you got the answer. What do you think the answer is? The answer is C, layer preventive, detective, and corrective controls across zones. Defense in depth requires multiple control types across multiple zones, not a single point of defense. That's what defense in depth is. Just think of it as I think of it as a circle, right? You have one circle, and then you have a circle in the circle, and then a circle in the circle, and another circle in the circle. That's kind of like when I think of defense in depth. All right, last one. An organization wants to prevent unauthorized devices from connecting to switchboards. Which technology should they use? A, port mirroring, B, 802.1x with radius, C, VLAN tagging, or D, MAC flooding. I'll read the question again. An organization wants to prevent unauthorized devices from connecting to switchboards. Which technology should they use? A, port mirroring, B, 802.1x with radius, or C, VLAN tagging, or D, MAC flooding. I'll give you 5 seconds to think about it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, if you remember the story that I said before about the unauthorized putting in of a wireless router inside the company network, unauthorized, of course, you would know that the answer is B. 802.1x authentication with radius ensures only authorized user/devices can connect to network ports. And that's what was not set up in one of the companies that I worked, and the employees went in there, put a wireless router. I don't even know if they had a password. I'm sure they had a password in there. And they only gave it to the help desk techs for they can stream Netflix. This was like, I don't know, 20 years ago, maybe 15, 20 years ago. And guess what? Luckily, nobody got fired. So I don't know. I don't know how to take that. Honestly. So, but, and how they found out is it was weird. Actually, I shouldn't say it, but yeah, don't do that, guys. Don't bring unauthorized equipment into your company network. You might get fired. You might not be so lucky as those guys were. All right. That's it for today. It's deep dive into enterprise network security. Remember, technology keeps evolving, and so should you. Stay curious, stay certified, and as always, keep tapping into technology. This has been a presentation of Little Cha-Cha Productions, art by Sarah, music by Joe Kim. We're now part of the Pod Match Network. You can follow me at TikTok at Professor J Rod, that's JROD, or you can email me at ProfessorJRod, JROD, @gmail.com.